Verdansk Season 3 Reloaded is gonna be interesting. We need to talk about what's coming, how it's gonna change the gameplay, and whether that's for the better or for the worse. I've been having an absolute blast back on Verdansk, reliving some of those best moments from 2020 when Warzone first launched, and I've got to hand it to the devs. They scored a major win with the return. However, things could be about to change, and so we'll get stuck into these gameplay details of what's coming in Season 3 Reloaded. Drop a like on the video if you go on to enjoy it. If you're not subscribed, by the way, consider clicking that subscribe button because we're streaming and dropping videos on Verdansk every day of the week right now, and I want to hit 1 million subscribers this year, so help us get there. Okay, let's start with some of the big changes coming to the Verdansk map itself. One feature that Call of Duty has already confirmed to be arriving for Season 3 Reloaded are the addition of Ascender ziplines on the outsides of certain buildings. Now, you might remember these from 5 years ago. They were added to lots of tall buildings around the map, allowing for easy access to the rooftops instead of just using an internal elevator zipline or, the real manual method running up 15 flights of stairs. Originally, the Ascenders were added as part of Season 5 of Modern Warfare 2019, so we're getting these quite a bit earlier in the timeline than we did the first time around. But I do think that most players are going to regard these things as good additions. It's going to give everybody more options and angles when it comes to taking on other players who might have hold of a very high power position. If you're a Plunder player, you've already seen these Ascenders. They're already in place in Plunder across Verdansk. And unlike the OG Ascenders, these are going to operate with the newer mechanics where you'll be able to jump off or cancel your ascent if you start getting shot at or you want to use them as a parachute point. They'll be placed in all of the original locations that they were added to in Season 5 of Modern Warfare 2019, and there will be some additional ones as well for ascent to the roof of Stadium, for example. Now, personally, I'd be okay with Ascenders not returning to Verdansk because not having them makes gameplay extremely readable, and players with good game sense will know how to position themselves in such a way that they only have 1 or 2 angles to hold, and so adding Ascenders means you're adding more angles that you have to think about. But I do know that them being added is going to be an overall positive for gameplay, even though I would prefer they not be added because, well, I like the way the game plays right now. But, there are some painful rooftop camping positions across Verdansk. You've got the tops of train station, for example, that you can really only access from a couple of ladders and 1 internal staircase at the moment, and various downtown buildings. A lot of them don't have internal ziplines, so if you want to get onto the roof, you kind of have to go all the way up a set of stairs to get to another roof and then maybe parachute down onto the top of them. I can see why they want to add Ascenders. I just personally want to play Verdansk a bit longer without them being added. Seeing them return will mean a lot of minute-to-minute gameplay changes for players. Everyone's going to have to pay a lot more attention to these different avenues of attack that are going to appear in probably a week's time. Another major map change that's coming with Season 3 Reloaded is the reopening up of Verdansk train station. Again, just like with the Ascenders, Season 5 of Modern Warfare 19 saw the unlocking of train station for the first time, with the interior of the covered footbridge and the shopping mall inside the main building becoming play spaces, and it made train station a much hotter drop than it was beforehand, and I can see that happening all over again. Now, the official blog states that there might be an additional surprise or two coming with the opening up of train station, so we don't have all the details on what to expect here. But the entire location is going to play differently, with the addition of Ascenders on the outside up to the rooftops and the entire shopping center being opened up below. It's going to feel like a different landing spot, a different POI now compared to what we've been playing for the first few weeks back on Verdansk. There is also a third location being opened up on Verdansk for Season 3 Reloaded, but right now we don't have any idea what that is. In the launch blog for Verdansk, this redacted message sits just below the announcement of train station being opened up. It says, quote, "New areas both on the surface and within subterranean, redacted, across Verdansk, are being actively monitored for signs of redacted. Additionally, partially redacted reports of redacted that haven't been seen, redacted, also tracking intel that redacted." Now, I'm not sure what this really refers to. The only thing I can really think of is the bunker locations across Verdansk being opened back up, Honestly, one of my favorite parts of the old map. Loved fighting around those. This might be something different, though. It might be something across the other side of the map that we haven't thought about. But to be honest, the bunkers is the only really thing I can think about, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, next, let's talk about some new and returning features being added to Verdansk for Season 3 Reloaded. These aren't map changes themselves. These are more gameplay elements and mechanics that we're going to be able to use. Number 1, the return of the moving train. This iconic beast will be coming back exactly as it was in Season 5 of Modern Warfare 19, complete with the recon contract on it that's going to allow players to fight over something that, if the circle pull is kind, will be able to be completed several times in a row, giving you the equivalent of the Foresight perk, where you'll be able to see very close, if not all the way to, the end circle location. Now, the train itself has several cars full of loot crates on it, making it a pretty decent drop point regardless of where it is on the map, but of course the biggest pull is that recon contract. Now, according to the COD blog on Verdansk, the train itself won't be player controlled at launch, but it sounds like there might be plans to enable that feature later on. And I'm just going to say right here, I hope they cancel those plans and they just leave the train as a constantly moving POI that players can't interrupt. I can remember a few end circles on the OG Verdansk where the train would pass right through the middle of it, and it made for some absolutely unforgettable moments where teams would be stuck on either side of the train for a few seconds and nobody could really do anything apart from like lob grenades or tacticals over the top of it until the train moved and then everyone got stuck in again. I want that experience again, rather than someone trying to stop the train just outside the zone or stop it in the middle and it changes. No, I'd love the train to just be on a constant loop all the way around, and maybe 1 in every 20 matches, the circle ends on the train track and the train just goes through the middle of it. I think that would be really awesome. Number 2 is the addition of the high-value loot zones. Now, I think we've seen these on Caldera, Al Mazrah, and Urzikstan previously, and essentially they just buff the loot in a specific POI or location when the match first starts. That means you're probably going to find more cash, more plates, and better ground loot weapons off the rip. I'm also expecting to see a little bit of a shake-up of the ground loot for Season 3 Reloaded, just to keep things fresh, as well as weapon balancing and all that stuff. So this could mean that you and your teammates lock out a loadout crate in record time if you land and get the 10k that you need instantly, or you could just end up fighting several other teams at that loot zone who've had exactly the same idea as you. Number 3, the addition of the big game bounty contract, another returning feature. This gives players another option to stack up some cash on Verdansk. This contract targets the player with the current most kills in the lobby, rather than just a random player, as the standard bounty contract does, and killing the big game bounty will net you cash plus a 20-second instantly activated advanced UAV. That's going to give you a full overview of the map for a short period of time, and that can be really helpful after a big game bounty, because you could be completely out of position after chasing a player across the entire length of the map, and you need to know what's going on around you. Number 4 are new public events, and we don't know anything about these at the moment. They'll be added to the list that we already have. We've got the fire sale, the jailbreak, the restock, and of course the public loadout drop. That happens at the end of Circle 1 and at the beginning of Circle 5 every single game, whereas the other 3, they just have a random chance of occurring, or they simply might not occur at all. So some of the other public events that we've had before in other versions of Warzone, 2 that I can think of are the UAV flyover, which, you know, didn't really do that much on Urzikstan, to be honest. And then we had the runaway train on Urzikstan, and that was kind of interesting because it would basically lock the circle in a position around the train for a period of time at the end of the game, and then the circle would just move with the train around the map. And then eventually, the train would go out of the circle and the circle would just start shrinking, and it would cause absolute chaos at the end of games. I personally found that to be quite enjoyable, but on Urzikstan, I think it had happened just a little bit too frequently. I'd like to see it happen more rarely. You want those kind of things to just sort of pop up out of nowhere. Maybe, again, a bit like what I said with the train actually going round the map. Maybe it happened like once in every 20 games you played, you'd really feel the effect of it. But if it happens too often, it starts to lose its appeal, really. And then number 5, and this is probably the one that I'm kind of most meh about, is the re-addition of the Specialist token. The devs have confirmed that you'll soon once again be able to buy the Specialist token from buy stations across Verdansk, as well as having a rare chance at finding one in specific locations on the map. Now, personally, I don't want to see them add the Specialist token back into buy stations. Back on OG Verdansk, the Specialist token was an ultra rare item that you hardly ever saw. And if you did, it became a really cool moment in a match. If you took control of it, it gave you a massive advantage over almost every other player. But you still had to be pretty good at the game to go on and secure a win. Being able to buy that token takes away all of the excitement and all of the rarity, especially on Verdansk now, because we've got the scavenger perk that gives you loads of extra cash as rewards for kills if you've got it equipped, and of course we've got the contract multiplier, which can give you massive cash payouts for completing multiple contracts. I don't know. I don't think having the Specialist token in the buy stations is a good move personally. I don't even think it was a good move initially when they put it in buy stations during the Modern Warfare 3 life cycle. It just felt like a bit of a throwaway kind of thing. I'd prefer not to have it in buy stations. I just love it as like an ultra rare drop item that only happens like once per game for one player in one crate somewhere on the map. That'd be pretty cool. We are also getting a couple more weapon options with Season 3 Reloaded, although they aren't Warzone OG weapons like the Kilo, the HDR, or the AMAX. But one is OG from Black Ops 1. It's called the Ladra, but you probably know it as the Spectre SMG. This will have an extremely high rate of fire, and it's going to come to the game as an event reward, so probably an event that goes live when Season Reloaded drops. I'd expect that to be pretty competitive on Verdansk for a couple of weeks after it launches. And then the other one is this weird mini rocket conversion kit for the Goblin Mark II. It's going to change the gun into a fully automatic weapon that fires explosive rocket ammunition. That sounds absolutely amazing for endgame fights on Verdansk, where vehicles are just dominating right now. Imagine whipping that thing out as a Hummer drives past. That vehicle could be toast in just a couple of seconds. We are also seeing the introduction of Ranked for Season 3 Reloaded on Verdansk. Right now, details are pretty scarce on how the devs are going to handle this mode, but we do know it will be trios only, and it's going to support the full 150 players that standard Verdansk playlists support. I'll likely dabble in this with some friends when it first launches, but I'm not sure if a ranked game mode is really the sort of thing that I'm that interested in. I'll give it a go, see if I like it, but I don't envision myself playing it all that much. Now, outside of those confirmed elements for Season 3 Reloaded, I think there's a couple of other tweaks that the devs could bring to the game that would smooth out some of the admittedly very small issues that I currently, and many other players currently have with the game. Right now, the AK-74, I think, is massively overpowered. It does need a nerf so that it doesn't out-damage SMGs at close range. That would demote it from being the go-to meta sniper support weapon in the game right now, and it would restore the SMG category as an actual viable pick. I'd love to see more sniper rifles receive one-shot headshot potential, but let me clarify that point. I don't think all of them should have infinite one-shot headshot range. They should just have the ability to have a one-shot headshot down. The HDR has it, and we all know why. Nostalgia. The Cat AMR has it from Modern Warfare 3, along with the Moors, and both of those you can use in Verdansk right now, but they're not particularly effective. The only other majorly effective sniper at the moment, I think, is probably the Kar 98, which got buffed when Verdansk launched to make it more competitive and a viable pick. So I'd like to see more snipers across the Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Black Ops 6 lineup. I'd like to see them elevated to make them more competitive alongside the HDR. So we've got a bit more choice and a bit more variety moving forward. I don't want snipers nerfed, trust me, don't want them nerfed. I just think we need some more options to make them viable. And then lastly, I think having the heavy vehicles like the Humvee and the Bertha truck despawn in solos after Circle 4, I think that would be a really good step forward. This is something that was done on OG Verdansk to stop players just camping vehicles and turning end circles into parking lots, essentially. I've got a feeling this is going to happen at some point on its own. I think the devs are very aware that it's already becoming a pretty big problem, But perhaps doing it now, rather than waiting any longer, will stop people getting frustrated, being outdone by players who are just sitting in rolling fortresses. And that's about it for this video. So thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe so that when Season 3 Reloaded drops, you can catch my live streams and my videos on it. And I will catch you in the next one.